Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on AIS's continued mini video series on Applied Generative AI. My name is Chris Poteet. I'm a Solution Director here at AIS, and today I want to look at one potential impact of generative AI on employee offboarding generally, but specifically looking at exit interviews, which I'll give more detail here in a second. I'd like to read from you a compelling quote in the Harvard Business Review on exit interviews that I think will help frame our conversation. The author says, if people are leaving an organization in ever-increasing numbers, figuring out why is crucial. And the most useful tool for doing so is one that too few leaders pay attention to, exit interviews. According to our research, many companies don't even conduct these interviews. Some collect exit interview data but don't analyze it. Some analyze it but don't share it with the senior line leaders who can act on it. Only a few collect, analyze, and share the data and follow up with action. This is really, I think, a very compelling quote because the author outlines 4 things that have to happen. First, you have to be able to collect, so you're doing the process of exit interviews, but then importantly, you're doing the analysis. And then once the analysis is done, then you're sharing it. And once it's socialized and shared, then you're following that up with action. And so all 4 of those things have to happen for this to be a meaningful process to help improve the employee experience at your organization. And of the companies that do, which is more often less than do a formal process like this, many don't analyze and share in a way that makes meaningful change inside of the organization. And this specifically is where I think generative AI can help. Looking right laser in on the analysis portion, which can be very mundane, especially as organizations increase in size and they do more and more exit interviews. It becomes increasingly challenging for someone or a few people inside of HR to make sense of this amount of information. So this is really where I think we should focus in on for the remainder of our time and see how this can be helped with generative AI. A recent survey also looked at some numbers that I thought were interesting to reflect on, that 71% of organizations that were asked in the survey didn't have a formal offboarding process. They might obviously be removing system access from IT, but they're not doing anything formal to help improve the employee experience in the organization going forward in a formal process. Of the people that were asked in the survey, 93% believe their exiting feedback is important, which is a large number. And 87% of those individuals thought that their input regarding their employee experience could be helpful to others. So not only do they think their exiting feedback is important, but also they think it'd be helpful to others and the broader organization, because most people do not leave organizations with malicious intent. They worked with colleagues that they worked with and cared for a long time. They want the organization that hopefully was taking care of them for a long time as well to be better, and their colleagues' employee experience that they're leaving to be better. So exit interviews are an important part of it, but simply collecting it and storing it is not going to help make the kind of meaningful action that needs to happen to improve that experience. Well, I want to talk about content lifecycle. This is one thing I like to get in when discussing how generative AI can impact a solution like we're looking at today. Content lifecycle is something that we do all day. We just don't do it consciously. We capture and we brainstorm to create information. So then after it's created, then we upload and organize it. We might collaborate with others as well on it. And then we want to share to make the information and the hard work we put into certain types of content available to others. And so, for example, the exit interviews, we're interviewing someone according to a script, we're getting questions, then we're probably just organizing it into a document and uploading it to SharePoint. For a lot of organizations, it's left there and forgotten, maybe shared with a few people, but no ongoing analysis is happening to make it more impactful. And this is where a solution like generative AI can really impact content usage, reusage, and the ability to make it more meaningful for an organization and make it more shareable and actionable. So this is one thing I like to talk about when looking at generative AI, is to remember that it's really one of the biggest potential impacts that we've seen in a long time to how content is used, managed, disseminated, and and made more effective. So this is what I want to look at specifically in the context of a demo for an organization that's conducting these exit interviews. So what I've done is I have created a Copilot chatbot. So Copilot is Microsoft's name for their instance of using chat-based solutions that are powered by generative AI. And I created this in the newly minted Copilot Studio, which used to be called Power Virtual Agents, that were familiar with that solution. And what I've done is I've created a series of exit interviews. in standalone Word documents. And now I've had this chatbot with the power of generative AI to give me understanding and expedite my analysis on the content that I have inside of my exit interview repository. So for example, let's say I want to hone in on a specific exit interview and get some summary. So I asked the bot, can you give me a summary of Adele's exit interview? And so the bot will go out, look, Adele's name is not in the file name, by the way, in this particular example. It's just contained in the content itself, so it's intelligent enough to know that. And it goes out and grabs those insights for me from the larger exit interview document. So Adele mentions she started searching for a new opportunity because she wanted to pursue further education and certification in her field. But she also had some frustration that the company could have encouraged her to stay by being more responsive and adaptable to the changing needs and demands of the market and customers. So these are really great insights for us to look in, understand the broader picture of Adele's experience, her tenure at the company, and then see, is there something we could have done to maybe retain Adele, because she might have been a very top performer that we wanted to keep. Now, I can also ask sentiment questions, which can be helpful for a really snapshot look at a specific exit interview. So I'm going to ask, can you give me a sentiment of Megan's exit interview? So now the bot will go out and look at Megan's interview and come back and give me an overall sentiment and why that sentiment is returned. So you can see here, the sentiment of Megan's exit interview is negative. Why did the bot think it was negative? Powered by this generative AI solution, Megan mentioned that encountering issues or conflicts with her manager that negatively affected her job satisfaction and performance. She described the work atmosphere as toxic and stressful. Now, Megan might be an outlier. That's certainly strong language. But perhaps this is something we need to reflect on, look at Megan's manager and say, is this a common experience that other people are interacting with this manager? Do we need to do something about it? Like, it would be a real shame if we lost more people that had a similar type of experience with this manager and that we wanted to retain. So we want to be careful about always asking these questions and making them actionable to improve, again, that experience. So it's all good to look at one interview at a time, but let's say I want to look at a large view of these exit interviews and get some summary. So I asked the bot, can you give me 5 takeaways from these exit interviews? Now the bot is looking at not one exit interview, but looking at all the ones that I have in my knowledge repository and returning them for me to make some more discernible actions. So here are some 5 takeaways. So employees started mentioning issues or conflicts with their managers, like we just saw with Megan. There was a lack of communication and collaboration among teams, insufficient feedback about performance between reviews, recognition. But another thing is recognition and reward for their work was highly valued, and flexibility in work arrangements was an important factor in retention. So we see some negatives, but also some positives for us to address and also to continue to grow. And this is extremely powerful because I don't have to go out and look at each and every one of these, distill them all. I can get summaries powerfully built by generative AI to help me make this more actionable. So now I can take these insights and go in front of senior leadership and say, here are our 5 to 10 major exit interviews we had over the past X amount of months or years. And then here's the things we've done in place to address them, and here's how it's improved that sentiment, for example, over time. And so we can start to have a powerful trailing record of how people are leaving, why they're leaving, and how the employee experience is being improved, or perhaps not, over time. And so these become much more powerful analysis solutions to make much more impactful change. But we're just looking at a frame to look at the chatbot. Perhaps most people are working inside of Microsoft Teams, for example, and they want to be able to ask those questions right in the flow of where they work every day. So here I've taken that same chatbot. Now it's surfaced as an application inside of Microsoft Teams. So now I say, now I can ask similar types of questions. Like, let's go back and look at Adele's interview. Can you give me a summary of Adele's exit interview? And the bot, now inside of Teams, the exact same process, same knowledge repository that we looked at earlier, will return the exact same information that surfaced for me inside of Teams so that I can make actions on it. I can ask about Megan's interview. Now, all the other things that I showed out earlier, we can look inside of Teams, which will be much more compelling, for example, an HR worker that's working every day and working as well. This can be also combined with other types of solutions. This can be extended into Copilot for M365, and then we can ask, for example, as one application, go out and grab me the top 10 insights from the exit interviews and create a PowerPoint presentation from it, and it can all dynamically be generated for us to be able to use. So these are powerful applications of the emerging generative AI solutions to impact many areas of the business, but one that is often forgotten and not talked about as much: exit interviews. Thank you for joining us today and looking at this application of generative AI. Hope you'll continue to join us for the remainder of the series.